it's truth or dare. Look, I dare to speak the truth. Look, I dare to speak the truth. Look, I dare to speak the truth. Now it's truth or dare. Look, I dare to speak the truth. Look, I dare to speak the truth. Look, I dare to speak the truth.
Yo, it's your boy Easily Done. Episode 41. Listen, we got an interesting week in college football this week, man. You know what I mean? There's some games this week. Playoff contention, all in a balance. I love college football finally has evolved to playoffs, because in years past, teams lose a game or two, season over with. Maybe an SEC team who loses to another top 10 team can get to the 14 playoff with a loss. I don't think we've ever seen a 2-loss team make it into the playoffs, the 14. It's just what college football's been the last, really since I've known college football. Because before the 14 playoff, it was completely politics. It was pure. They picked the bowl game that has the winner of the bowl. Like, let's say before the 14 playoff, let's say two teams meet in the Orange Bowl, the number one team in the SEC or the number two team in the SEC versus the number one team in the Big Ten. And if the number one team in the Big Ten is undefeated, but that second team in the SEC got a loss, that's kind of the championship, depending on if another bowl game got another contender with a record that's as good as that Big Ten team and better than the SEC team. Whoever basically comes out on top at the end of the season will be declared the national champion. That's how they used to do it. Then they said that just was pure politics. Too many people was complaining because you had that same 2-loss SEC team crying, you know what I mean, that they should have had some votes for the championship, or the Big Ten team loses, and they still feel some type of way about whatever team you put ahead of them. It's just dumb. It was dumb. But for the game of college football, which all of us love, the pageantry, the amount of different teams that are in this arena that compete with different playing styles and player combinations, it's awesome to watch the game of football. Because to me, NFL is the highest level. But like I've said before in previous entries, that college football has a diversity like nobody else, because there's so many different teams and players. Even though there's always a team that be on top, the right team can come along and with the right coaching staff, 1 or 2 superstars on the squad, and be a problem. For example, the first team I want to tell you that's a playoff contender that I got to just give them props. Me being a Big Ten guy, see that Michigan right there? I'm a Big Ten guy, and I got to talk about Indiana. I ain't never seen Indiana undefeated at this point of a season. And they are rolling. They just beat a 1-loss Nebraska team who a lot of people, the preseason guys, and this is why the old ways didn't work, because they always tell you who the top 25 is. So basically what y'all are saying is this is how the championship should go off the rip. Based off your numbers, who's ever number one, they should already be crowned champ. That's why you shouldn't even do rankings until a certain point in the season. You know what I mean? Let them people play it out. The playoff neutralizes that. But the old way, oh my God, that shit was so in favor of them teams that were preseason top 5 and 10. If you were on the bottom and went undefeated, or 1 loss, but you weren't even ranked, you got to climb up them polls to even be considered a champion or play for a championship, especially a group of 5 school. Like, all this shit is crazy in college football. But the game itself is awesome to watch. The matchups. You know what I mean? Because Indiana's undefeated. You got to respect them. They undefeated in Big Ten. They don't, they whooped Nebraska 59-7. I was like, dog, that is, like, they beat them like they Ohio State beating Nebraska. Like, Ohio State played Nebraska this week. If Nebraska don't put up that kind of score, people really gonna, that's what we do too. We'll watch how one team play the next, even though how that one team built to the next, it could be worlds apart. But right now, like, seriously, Indiana's a problem. Indiana is a straight problem. The coach that came over from James Madison, I already know he about to get every job offer that's available this offseason. They're gonna try to buy out his contract. He might be obligated to do one more year at Indiana. I don't know the man's name, you excuse me, but he got one more season. If he has any type of close to what he's doing this year, it might be hard for him to repeat what he's doing, because you know how that, like I said, he might have some superstars there, but if he repeats what he's doing at Indiana, man, and all the big boys that don't have a coach, they're not trying to get rid of. I wouldn't be surprised if Michigan gave him a job. Okay, watch this. If Indiana's coach has any type of season this year or next year, and Michigan, my squad, continues to go direction we going, they finna pay that boy the bank to get him to come to Michigan. Because we're gonna tell him we got a better program. We can do what you want to do on a longevity basis. Indiana can't offer, and Indiana's never been good for long. Now, what I also I love to see is, as a fan of the game of college football and people building programs and staying there, stay in Indiana. See if you can make Indiana a powerhouse like Bobby Bowden did at Florida State. Florida State wasn't shit till he got there, and they became a powerhouse off of him. Or Joe Paterno at Penn State. They made them programs. They stayed there 20, 30 years. It's unfortunate what happened to Joe Paterno in his last days, his last few years, and the defensive coordinator, the scandal. That fucked him up, man. That fucked up his legacy. I think that's why he died. Once they even was going to touch his legacy, he died. It took his soul from his body. Because he built Penn State from the ground up. This little sex scandal had nothing to do with his players and the recruiting and the coaching he did to build this program from rock bottom to a collegiate powerhouse. You know, James Franklin, who took over Penn State, has took over what Paterno built. That's why they've stayed in the top 10, 15 since Franklin been there. But Franklin can't win the big games. Paterno's won national championship at Penn State. You know what I mean? But just to keep going on these teams that are surprising, that I like what I'm seeing, and teams in their conference should watch out. Let's talk about SMU. I saw SMU play Louisville like 2 weeks ago. Wow, so impressed. That's another team. I'm not sure who they lost to. I gotta go into their. Let me see if I can go into catch who SMU lost to, but that's a very impressive team too. They got a quarterback over there who took over. SMU lost to BYU, who's also undefeated. That's another undefeated group of five. Well, I don't know. BYU might not be group of five. I'm not sure what BYU conference is. Let me see what BYU's conference is. I can check them out. The BYU's in the Big 12. See, I apologize. I gotta look at stuff because there's been so much change in college football. So SMU's only lost is to BYU, another surprise team, undefeated. You know what I mean? SMU, Indiana, BYU. If I'm correct, BYU started the season ranked. They were in like the lower 20s, but now they're BYU's number 11. They play UCF this weekend. So college football wide open right now. I love it. We need this. Alabama, unfortunately, took a loss. They took 2 losses, as a matter of fact, and they don't look good. Nick left. Alabama fans mad Nick gone, but man, I don't understand that. The man won 6 national championships with y'all, another one with LSU. What else do you want from him? You know what I mean? He's 72. You know what I mean? He wanna enjoy some of these millions that he done got paid from Alabama. So let the man walk away. But Bama fans, they want that nigga to die, the Bama coach. You know what I mean? I don't know, man. You just gotta let the guy walk away, because that's really what happened to Joe Paterno. He died Penn State coach. He passed away Penn State coach. 30-some years. Bobby Bowden, eventually they moved him out of Florida State because he started falling off. He was starting to have consistently like 7-win, 8-win seasons. He won the powerhouse they had in the 90s and the 2000s was gone. They weren't the same team. And then they brought in Jimbo Fisher, and Jimbo brought it right back up, and they won the championship. It was highly competitive. But man, let Nick walk away, man. You know, this new dude, he ain't it. I ain't gonna lie. He don't understand SEC football, man. SEC is very much like Big Ten. You got to have a running game and defense to win in the SEC. Then you want to have a high flying air raid pass attack like LSU. But LSU had a running game and their defense was good when they dominated. You know, but you got to solidify yourself in them trenches first. If you're not doing that, you're gonna struggle, just point blank. And they are. They don't look good. Milroe can't do it all by himself. This is not the Pac-12. How you had Washington air raid everybody out. You got to play physical brand of football, man, in the SEC, man. You got to win in the trenches. There's too many teams that are built off their trench game. Georgia, Ole Miss, they're known for offensive and defensive linemen, bro. Even like Mississippi State and Texas A&M. They known for this, man. Tennessee back, and that's what the first thing Tennessee made them a formidable opponent. They got back to the shit they did in the 90s, in the early 2000s, was get that D-line and O-line back to par. They were competing, but they couldn't beat the Georgias because Georgia's O-line and D-line all out of this world. Like, that's why they won back-to-back championships, man. Georgia defense was outstanding them 2 years. They put 20 niggas in the league. And all them niggas playing in the NFL right now. Speaking of Georgia, we all saw what they did to Texas. And I ain't gonna lie, I kind of knew Texas was gonna take an L because they ain't beat nobody. They beat Michigan, not to hate on how they beat us, but we down this year. You can't keep saying they beat Michigan when you see how trash Michigan is this year. I love my Wolverines, but we trash this year. I'm like, man, I can't wait for the season to be over with so we can fix the shit. We got no quarterback. We don't play 3 different quarterbacks, all 3 garbage. We got a freshman who everybody, it's his 5-star, everybody want to see play, but he done told him beginning of the season he's sitting out this year. He's smart, really. Imagine him out there with no O-line, getting sacked left and right. You know, we really don't got no receivers. We're misplaying our running back, so the defense actually is good, but the offense ain't helping them. So they're out on the field all the time. That's what when they have some offense, them niggas are talented as hell. That's what we knew was gonna be raw, but we got no offense. Now I see why Jim coached the way he did. Run the ball, man. Just try, run it, force it. Because if your passing game ain't gonna just hold it down, make your running game good. Make it a team have to. So then when you do mess around and drop play action, you got one-on-ones on the outside. That's what you do, right? That's what he did in the NFL. That's what he's doing now with the Chargers. But I knew Georgia was going to beat them. I knew they was going to beat Texas. They got a championship pedigree. Texas is just now getting back to being in this elite form, and they're just now joining the SEC. You know, but that was really the only team on their schedule. They can still win out. I still feel like somebody in the SEC going to surprise them. No, they got Vanderbilt this week. You know, Vanderbilt already beat Bama. So that's interesting. That's real interesting. Penn State versus Wisconsin. Yeah, you know, Penn State, they should win. My thing about Penn State is, like I said about James Franklin, can he maintain? You know what I mean? Can he get over the hump? Can he win the Big Ten? Can he win a national championship? At least get into the playoffs and win a playoff. See, now you got a team that in them older eras could mess around and be in that 1-game system, a 2-game system. You got to get in the playoffs. So for him, he just need to get in the playoffs, maybe win in a round, and he's moving up the right ladder. Because now they're number 4. I ain't seen Penn State ranked this high in a long time. Let me talk about the Hurricanes again. You know, they are the number 6 team right now in the country, and their offense, to me, best offense in the country, hands down, best offense. Their defense is a problem to me. There's way too much shootouts going on in Miami. It's too much back and forth. You know, every team they play puts up a lot of points and plays into the fourth quarter. And I'll give Miami credit. Their offense is so good, they can win them shootouts like no problem. They got everything. They got a running back room, not just one guy. They got a stable of running backs. They got a core of receivers, and a Heisman candidate quarterback. They offense off the chains. It's their defense. They'll win. They'll go as far as their defense take them. If they play Florida State this weekend, they should drag Florida State, but you just don't know. You know what I mean? Ohio State play Nebraska. Like I said, that's a good comparable. Even though I don't like to do that, because Nebraska might tighten up screws that Indiana exposed when they play Ohio State. But Ohio State's supposed to be talent for talent, arguably the best team in the country. Supposed to be. Yeah, I mean, they got NFL guys everywhere on that team. I mean, O-line, secondary, linebacker, defensive line, running backs. The question is their quarterback. And he played good in that loss to Oregon, and that's the number one team right now. They're the top team in the country. I give them that. They deserve it. They beat Purdue. Purdue's trash, but to beat a team 35-zip, I love scores like that. Because they scored points, 35, but they held them to 0. That lets you know they got some defense. They got some for real defense. And they really could have beat Ohio State. It came down to Ohio State driving the football and running out of time, and it was a 2-point game. You know what I mean? And Ohio State could have kicked the field goal and won the game, but they ran out of time, and then they called a play, and the quarterback didn't call timeout fast enough, and the clock hit 0. But Oregon really could have won that game by a bigger margin. They had key players hurt. Ohio State was fully, everybody was out there. And there were certain drives, Ohio State got some calls in their favor, bro. Oregon could have won that game. That was a statement game, really. They won that, it said a lot. Especially from the old Oregon days when we remember Oregon in the old system, they'd go undefeated in the Pac-10. They got in the national championships. But then they played an SEC team or a good-ass ACC team. That's another conference that when they got somebody good, like a Miami or a Clemson or a Florida State, when they're good, can play with anybody. SEC, Big Ten don't matter. Because Clemson got championships, Florida State got championships, Miami got championships. We ain't seen Miami in there in a while, but everybody knows if they get it together on defense, they're going to put the fear of God in all of college football. They figure out that defense, especially if it happens in front of our face this season. I feel like next year for sure. It's just a scheme error to me. I've watched them play. I don't like the way they line up, but I got to give it to what they're doing right now. You can't knock them. They ain't been this raw in a long time. You know, we compare them to them 90s teams, the 80s teams, early 2000 teams. I mean, their history is, for that period of time, I'm talking about NFL players running around everywhere. Could do nothing but respect Miami. Their NFL, even the years in the last 20 years, still putting niggas in the league. They doing their thing in the league. They just do their thing, bro. It's Miami. This advantage of weather and kids can play football down here and pedigree and bloodline. I said it on the last time I did this college football. A game that I want to talk about too, because they're talking about these the service schools. Army and Navy are both ranked. They're both undefeated. Like college football. See, this is what I'm talking about. Because that's the beauty of college football. Army and Navy play triple option football. They don't come out there with this running gun and spread and read option play. They run the old school triple option or veer, like, man, 1960, 50 football. But them bitches are winning. And Navy plays Notre Dame, who's ranked number 12, one loss. This is super playoff implications. Because if Navy wins, they about to jump way up the rankings. If Notre Dame wins, they gonna jump up. You know what I mean? That's a huge. And the other game, really the game of the week though. I would argue that's the game of the week, but being there's two SEC teams going against each other that I feel like are both fire hot right now. LSU, Texas A&M. Texas A&M one loss is to Notre Dame. LSU's one loss is to USC, who don't look good right now. But it was the first game of the season. LSU's been rocking ever since. I love Brian Kelly too. I'm telling you. Now Nick's gone. He ain't gonna take Nick's spot because your boy from Georgia's that dude. He was already right behind Nick. Don't coach under Nick. got 2 championships, but Brian finna, trust me, he finna start moving up that ladder, because this is only his, second or third year. LSU rocking, bro. Like, I love how he took the quarterback that he already had there, didn't get no transfer, and that kid is balling. He's NFL, man. Nussmeyer, something like that, man. Dude, balling, man. They get him. They're a type of team. They figure out some running game. They go through, because see, this is what I like about college football too, right? They can't run the ball right now, like at elite level. Nothing the LSU we've seen in the past with the Fournettes, with the Geese. What's his name? Guice. You know, they got them Creole, Louisiana Creole. They've had so many guys go to the league, it's not even funny at running back. This is a little bit of a drop off for them, and it's probably just Brian Kelly coming in, and guys that were there before probably transferred out. That's the new shit. But he's working. Of course, he's working on it, because Brian Kelly was at Notre Dame, had running backs. He used to have back rooms, like 2-3 guys putting in work, right? He started getting his recruiting rolling at LSU, I promise you, because they've always had talent. LSU, for a team that we don't talk about like the Alabamas and the Georgias, they put just as much dudes in the NFL. They are over the NFL. Like for DBs, especially receivers, you know the receivers. Vincent Chase, Justin Jefferson, them niggas played together. Joe Burrow, LSU had arguably the greatest football team I ever watched. That LSU team was one of, I don't know the only team I want to compare to them is the Hurricane team. I think it's 99. Was it that year they won it? That's like neck and neck, bro. Neck and neck. LSU, I don't know, man, because LSU was they whole team in the NFL right now, man. Linebackers, Devin White done got us some trouble. You know what I mean? But the other kid, Patrick Queen, played for the Steelers. The safety, Delpit, is with Cleveland. Bruh, that whole squad, man. Like, the running back Clyde Hilaire just stayed hurt, but he was fired with LSU. That bitch almost had 1,000 yards rushing and receiving while he was at LSU. In that season they won it. I remember I watched the game, they played Alabama. That's when I said, who is they running back? All this talking about Jefferson and Chase. I'm just saying, man, LSU historically is a super raw program with their own way of recruiting. They don't sit there and grab all these 5 stars. They get 3 and 4 stars and coach them up and get them right. And by the time they leave, just like now, they got a bunch of receivers now going to go pro. This kid Lacey, he the next one. They've had an NFL receiver every fucking year. You got the 2 that just left now, Neighbors and Brian Thomas. Both went first round. They do this shit all the time at LSU, man. They stay with receivers. You know what I mean? Them in Ohio State stay with receivers. LSU ain't no different this year for both schools. And then Texas A&M. I love the coach they got. He built up Duke. Had Duke highly competitive last year. Duke. See, that's that shit I'm talking about. Like, but that was like his second or third year there. And he had a fantastic year last year. They won like 10 games. Even though they started out ranked and they kind of fell, but what you already did, you already know. That's why I tell you, an Indiana coach, shit. He might get one more year before he goes somewhere else. Another coach, watch out for. I ain't talking about his matchups because I really didn't pay attention because I was looking at the top 25. As you already know, Deion, man, in Colorado. I'm sorry, Deion, you doing it now. 5-2. If them niggas win 8 games with the notoriety Colorado get, he finna start having some shit come over there. But and I almost want to see. I don't hope it's not on purpose. But them kids might want him to come over to Florida State. They might tank their season on purpose. They want to see Deion over there. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's kind of funny, right? Because the way he doing at Colorado, Deion win 9-10 games. They might say, buddy, and fire him. Even though I think that's crazy. I think you got to give him the way they went last year, right? Norvell, that's his name, Florida State's coach. The way they went last year, you should give him one more season, bro. I mean, I don't know what's going on with them. You went undefeated last year. Should have been playing for one of the BCS playoff spots. They got gypped. He couldn't help his quarterback got hurt. Even with his quarterback got hurt, he won every game after that. Didn't lose. Even the ACC championship game. They should. And now his team's just like, I don't know what happened. It could be a possibility. Them kids want to see Dion come over because Dion, he went to Florida State. Oh my God, that offseason gonna be real interesting. What they gonna do at Florida State? They might give him one more year. Cause if I'm Dion, I want to build Colorado. They already gonna give you the bag. And Colorado at one time, if people know college football, used to be fire. They used to be a perennial powerhouse. You can build that shit back up, and then go to another job when you feel like you done your due diligence. But Florida State, man, the way he. And his sons are gonna be gone. So that will give him all the reason to go to Florida State. Now he can go back. I think he live in the Dallas area though. That's where he after he went to the Cowboys, he ended up living in Dallas. But he got Florida roots. The man went to Florida State. Ooh. And I don't think he gonna do all that transfer shit because he know he got talent over there. That 1-6 shit is just them boys just blue wreck. I don't know what's going on. That shit crazy. Like how you go from. That's why I'm like, I'm a Michigan fan. I'm not even crying that hard because that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. You know what I mean? 1-6 after you just went undefeated, and the year before you won 9 games. Like he was on the upward trajectory. All of a sudden, that's crazy. But that's my week. Week 8 college football analysis. Really. Week 9. I apologize. Week 9. Man, it's gonna be interesting this year. Like this Saturday, fire. I ain't gonna lie. I'm looking at these games. Yeah, college football fire. I want to see how this gonna play out with the playoffs. These playoffs gonna be rocking. But y'all boys keep rocking with your boy. Done. I'm out.